Okay, Vince, I want to talk to you about the rising cost of credit reports. So we've seen our industry for 2 years in a row facing increased costs, and this is not just on hard pulls, but it's also impacting soft pulls, which impacting originators' ability, to write loans. There are some lenders out there, like some that sponsor our event, that will pay for credit reports, but there's an issue with this. And what do you feel? What do you feel about this?
When you say, rising cost of credit reports, I think what the image that always comes to mind is a sort of old time-lapse photography of a loaf of bread rising as it bakes. It goes from here to like here in seconds. That's about what we've seen with the cost of credit reports. I mean, they've increased something like, in some cases, 400%, depending on the level or how many of these that you're ordering at a time through the credit agencies. Yeah. It's ludicrous. Listen, we both agree it's ludicrous. I think it's a real problem because it's costing consumers a tremendous amount of money at a time when, frankly, the cost of concluding a mortgage in general is tough.
Yeah.
On the other hand, I'm just going to step back here for a minute because I know that you're going to fight that these should come down. And I'm going to say ostensibly, theoretically, I believe it shouldn't be as high either. But
it's free market.
It is a free market, and these agencies are going to charge what they're going to charge. I think the hardest part was that it wasn't like an incremental increase in what was happening in the cost of credit reports, and there wasn't anything that changed in the overall structure of credit reports. It was just they all said, "Hey, guess what?
There's been a change. Fair Isaac Corporation's profits are up 188%.
That's true on the corporate level. On the how do you provide the credit report, it has not changed. There's no real justification other than the justification that you just gave, which is, guess what? The market went down. We don't want our profits to go down. So if the market went down, 70%, we're going to raise our cost 3-4 times to make up for that 70% decline in overall profits. And it's working.
There's been no change in value. I mean, yes, there's some new models coming out, but really at the end of the day, we're still getting data. It doesn't cost that much more to be able to put. It doesn't cost, 200% of what it used to cost to produce those same credit reports.
No, and if it did, the people who run like Fair Isaac, they should be fired. Because if their expenses went up that much all of a sudden, they should be fired. This is a straight up money grab, is what this is. And again, at a time when it's already very difficult and very expensive for people to buy homes. So I'm not a fan of it. I understand it. I can't argue against it from a free market standpoint.
Yeah.
I can argue against it from a basic morality standpoint, but there's no such thing as business morality when you're facing your shareholders and trying to figure out what's going on your next quarterly earnings report.
I agree.
You're
agree
screwed
100%.
For.
Yeah. Business has got to do what business has got to do.
I know that we know that like the NBA is livid over this stuff here. They've been trying to advocate against it. I don't know that they're going to get very far. I also, the big issue for me also is just like sort of the cost of things under inflation. Once transaction volume comes back up or refinance volume comes back up, these FICO scores costs, they're not going to go back down.
Oh, yeah.
When volume increases, they're not going to go down. Profits are just going to shoot through the roof.
Yep. It's you don't really find hyper deflation hitting the service industry. That just doesn't happen.
No, and it sure doesn't ever seem to hit the mortgage industry.
No,
that's for sure.
No, it just keeps going up and up, and any opportunity that there is, we find actually ways to kind of improve our process, and we try to deliver a less expensive product to the borrowers, and in spite of all these efforts to try to actually raise the cost of borrowers.
For more on these and all of today's top stories, go to nationalmortgageprofessional.com.